All right, everyone. Welcome to God Talk. This is October 24th, and we are talking about eco justice tonight. So, welcome, everyone. It's great to see all your faces. And
Welcome back.
we are, let's get started with our introductions. We always say our name, our pronouns. And tonight, let's just say, what type of place do you like what's your kind of fantasy vacation? You like mountains or ocean or, yeah, something else entirely. Um, so I'll start. I'm Carol, she, her, and I've always loved the mountains, so that's why I live here. And I hope that as the sun gets a little lower, you can see my background behind me because it's pretty nice mountain view there. So Marco, you next.
Thank you. Jacob. Hey, what's up?
Recording in progress.
What? So say your name and your pronouns.
Michael and
And do you like mountains or ocean or what?
Mike.
You like the mountains the best?
Yeah.
But you like hot weather, don't you? You like hot weather, don't you? So, okay. All right. Let's go in the order we got online. So Kim, you next.
Well, I've always loved the mountains and the ocean. Doing 20 years in the Navy, I spent some time on the ocean, and so I really like that. And I'm actually going on a month-long vacation next year to Hawaii with one of my Navy buddies. So we got our spreadsheet going on everything we're going to be doing. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, how exciting. That's wonderful.
Welcome.
Okay, Kreger.
Okay,
No,
I'm
wait.
Kreger, he, they, and I love the mountains. And as a matter of fact, the last time, one of the times that Paul and I went to see his mom, Miss Julie, in New Mexico, she's in Los Lunas. We drove up to Taos and we walked some of the trails around Taos, and there was a bear. Oh my God, I was so scared. There was a bear, and and fortunately, the bear was more afraid of us than we of they, because I don't know what, male or female. And the bear actually climbed up a tree and let us pass by because I was just so terrified. I'm on Xarelto and stuff, and if my skin gets scratched, I would have bled out up there on the mountaintop, right? So, you know, I was just so grateful that
Yes.
the bear climbed up the tree but yeah, I love the mountains.
Awesome. Okay, Lynn.
Yay, go.
Oh, I'm Lynn, and I'm she, her. And man, this is a tough question for me. It's a toss up. Because I visited the mountains and I love them, but I was in Puerto Rico and right on the ocean and in like a villa, and water just calms me down. I'm a water sign, and so I guess there's an edge there that I just love the water. I just love the water. Anything around the water, listening to the waves, it's relaxation for me, total relaxation. But I also love the mountains.
Okay. All right, Leo and Jared.
You get it, go.
Or he. Um, for me, ideal would be anywhere where there's water. I love the water. I love going swimming, going fishing, tubing, anything with water.
Wow.
That would be really ideal. I could be all day in the water. I don't know about my
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's different for me. Name's Jared. Pronouns are yes. Any pronoun, it's fine. And my ideal vacation is actually a staycation. I don't, I mean, leave me home, right? Like country roads, right? I'm so chill, right? Just having time with myself, right? Having time with my bae, having time, just like not doing too much, is ideal. My husband likes to do so much, right? Like constantly. He likes to pack an itinerary. I like to relax at one location and watch my skin fall off.
Yeah, that's
I have a question for Leo.
yeah.
Okay, I see it looks like you have a Oakley shirt on.
Mhm.
And so my question is, are your lenses, are they Oakley or?
No, I wish
Okay.
I was looking into some because I need some new glasses, and I was yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, that's one of the things that my husband says. He says, whenever we go on vacation, I feel like you just pack things, have the thing to do. He doesn't like it.
We have different ideals. Like I do enjoy it, right? Like I do enjoy the constant movement, right? But my ideal vacation was the question.
All right. All right. My mom was always really good about planning big vacations. She even with itineraries packed. So we even had a houseboat vacation one time. That scared me to death trying to get Marco across a little plank into that houseboat. but we did it. Anyway, so now eco justice. So let's talk a little bit about that. So the term, I really like that term, eco justice, because I think it really paints a picture of how social justice issues are impacted by environmental factors, like how marginalized communities are often bear the brunt of environmental degradation, and how vulnerable populations often face higher risks from climate related disorders, and are disproportionately affected by things like pollution and toxic waste. So what else do you understand about that term, eco justice? What do you think about when you hear that?
Well, you kind of think about countries like the United States and the wealthiest countries sucking up all of this energy and putting it back into the atmosphere as pollution via our, mechanisms for energy and what have you. And that's and some of the other countries just people can't even they don't even have access to clean water. So yeah, that's
There's
kind of
certainly
how
been some issues about clean water in this country.
clean water. I mean, that's just a baseline for human existence is clean, uninfected water,
Water, clean air. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, and we see that in all those dystopian movies about how all that's gone and people and water is such a currency. Um, yeah, but even in just I think there's even in smaller populations when you're just comparing just like urban um just more disadvantaged areas, there's just not as much option to get away, to get to someplace cleaner, there's just so much uh press of people all around that people are just so much more affected when climate change is an issue, or pollution or things like that. Um, so what about climate change? Our we're talking about this also in terms of politics. Since we have the election coming up, we wanted to talk about some issues that are that some of the candidates are focusing on. And so I think our major presidential candidates have some pretty different opinions about things. So, for instance, even just believing in climate change, for example, or just dissing the idea altogether. So
Yeah, well, I see that, but before we move to that, I just think about my lifetime, and I remember as a child that air was free. If you needed to put air in your bicycle or in your tire, it was free. And we didn't have to buy cases of water in plastic jugs, you
Right.
know, so water was free. And now we routinely, I have a flat tire or air coming out of my tire. I gotta find 4 quarters or 5 quarters to, go and put air in the tire. Air. And when's the last time you stood over a water fountain to take a drink? So there's that. But then, to bring it to today, and that's in my lifetime, which is kind of scary when you think about it. Bring it to today, I think there are vast amounts of land that America has set aside. And I think I saw or read something where one of the candidates wants to just kind of, instead of leaving that pristine nature as it is, wants to go and drill or sell it off or, something like that. So it's the one thing that they will not be making more of is land. And I am very concerned with um, the politicians not paying attention to the fact that Mother Earth is what we have, and we've got to take care of her for future generations, not just for now. So there's the fracking and all sorts of other things that we don't. In addition to the injustice, they putting certain um, industry in certain neighborhoods and not in others. So yeah, there's that, but that's a scary part. If I had grandchildren or great grandchildren, I'd be very concerned, for the next generations because we haven't done a good job of taking care of Mother Earth at all in America.
right. Right. And Greta Thunberg was mentioned in one of our um, previous meetings. So what do we? So there are some heroes on the horizon. Who wants to talk about Greta?
I'd rather talk about eco justice for a moment. I think because it is my generation that will be inheriting the wealth of the previous generation and the agonies that comes from it. Most of the time, it is young chicanery of the older generation. But it's a lot. It's hard because we've experienced every industry that has prioritized profit, right? Like every industry has really done a great job of dehumanizing the field, right? Down from how we treat our animals that we farm for goods, down to how we farm our farms, right? Down to how we treat our plants, down to how we, take care of, our pets, down to how we, treat one another, down to how we look at, all of our ecosystem, right? It's been pillaged and, absolutely taken advantage by, motives of money and stuff. And the only people who are going to experience that, right, are people who, the younger generations, right? And so that's kind of why I reference people like Greta Thunberg, right? Because these are the people who recognize that this is not about tomorrow's problem. This is about today's problem that I'm going to experience tomorrow, right? As well, right? It's a thing that we live at, that other older generations, they look at as like a, well, that's someday, right? Someday far off, whenever I'm in my late 80s, early 90s, I will struggle to breathe because the algae supply at the bottom of the ocean will be depleted. Right? Like it like we fight because the stakes are ours. And so I just, with the love of your higher power, right? In all your things that you do, every sector of life, from animal to plant to sea creature, right, to the ecosystem, needs a little bit more divinity, needs a little bit more goodness, needs a little bit more light. And I just, a lot of people are going to have to die before that happens. And I'm talking about by natural means, like literally the process of just people growing old and passing is like before anything can be occurred connected to eco-justice. So many people have to just, with incorrect views, have to pass. And I don't know if our environment will be sustainable after they pass due to how bad things are getting. And with the politicians that we have currently, I don't have much hope for the environment because both of them don't care about fracking.
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay, Craig.
So my question for Jared is, if I may ask, how old are you?
Oh, never.
You don't have to. If you're uncomfortable, you don't have to say. I'm not going. If you just, because I'm 61, and so I'm just trying to figure out if you want to share.
I'm currently in my 20s.
Okay. And so my question is, how is it that you are able to come into this awareness, of where you are on environmental issues? Do you think the majority of people in your age group are in this same awareness? Or are you, so you're not out here flying solo or kind of like, because my niece is 31 and, she's a big environmentalist like I am. And so I was just curious about that.
Yeah, like it's my generation. It's not, it's not just me. I'm glad it's not, because boy, my hope would be.
Yeah. I think
There are. Go ahead, Leo.
no, I think the younger generation are more in tune with that. My sister works for Tejas. It's TEJAS. It's here in Houston. It's on I think 900 North Wayside. It's on the east side of Houston.
What does it stand for?
And it's a Texas Environmental Justice Advocacy Service. And she's been all over El Salvador, Mexico, Honduras, in Europe, and they go around talking about how to take care of the land, how to protect the trees, the environment, to El Salvador, they planted, I think, 10,000 trees. But I think, yeah, though the younger generation is more in tune now, and they know how serious it is. Yeah.
So it's a teaching and a action
Mhm.
organization.
Yes.
Well, I do think that's really true. How I'm really glad that the younger generation is more aware and also so invested, like Jared said. There's bigger stakes, but I do think that I mean some of these awareness, some of the research has been evident since like the early 1900s. And so there are some older people who have contributed. So
Don't count us all out.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you.
Don't count us all out. I think we went from not really knowing about it to I mean, because was it Al Gore
Mhm.
who
Yes.
first started talking about climate and the effects and what we were having on it. And so, and he wasn't a young guy, but the work that he did brought a lot of it to the forefront. And then you had people who, because of the profit of the big companies, don't want to do it. I mean, especially like in oil and gas in Houston, so they don't want the Environmental Protection Agency or OSHA telling them, what they can and cannot do. And that is a real danger. I see it as, if President 45 gets reelected, because he wants to do away with the Environmental Protection Agency.
Hmm?
And so there are government agencies that whose job it is to make sure that our food is safe and there's no contamination in our water and all those sorts of things. He wants to get rid of agencies that do that. So,
Because my sister, my
yeah,
sister worked for the National Forest, and then when 45 came in, he cut a lot of funding for the Environmental Protection Agency, and then her job was cut, and then that's when she started working for Tejas. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
What can we say to the people? I mean, certainly profits and power are a powerful motivator for a lot of people. So one of the things I'll just kind of answer my own question a little bit. I mean, one of the things that I'm kind of excited to see in terms of policy is the Green New Deal. And so, I mean, that's kind of talking about job creation as well in the eco sector. So, what do y'all think about that? Do you know? Do you think it'll work? And also, the first part of my question was kind of, what do we say to people who are just like, oil is what we live on. We can't, we can't get around. The people who are just only interested in profits and power. How do we respond to those kind of arguments?
I think like we've said, corporations is more about greed, and it's more about they have a patent on the oil, I guess, the way that they manufacture it and everything. So not everybody can easily access or create oil, if you will. So I think that engineers had already came up with the idea of using water as a source of energy and using hydrogen cells, converting the water and separating the hydrogen to convert it into energy. But because water is so accessible, and they had, they don't want to say it, but I know that they killed that guy that had invented a car to run out of water. And
He's dead now. It's an important part.
yeah, and I think it's more about greed, because I think we honestly could have came up with a solution a long time ago. It's just that, corporations they win because they have the big bucks. Yeah.
Yes, Craig.
Okay, Leo, but okay, so let's take a deeper dive, and I think these questions are really hard because let's take cancer, for example. We've all read stories on the internet and what have you where cancer is absolutely curable, and fossil fuels are completely unnecessary. But then what happens to all of those lives that are affected when those jobs get eliminated? Where are those people supposed to go? What are they supposed to do for their sense of well-being and accomplishment and atonement on and so it's very complicated, I think. I feel like we do have a cure. I work for Aetna. I feel like we do have a cure for cancer, and we keep on paying for treatment because
No,
or
yeah.
not paying for treatment.
And so, like, we're talking in terms of bigger things. Like, we're talking about smallish, but like really it's a systemic change, because there's this idea that older generations might have pushed that you need to like work in order to have standards of living, in order to survive, in order to have value, right? When there are so many things, right, that don't really require like manual, like there's so like you have the rise of AI, for instance, and the fact that so many jobs are getting displaced from that, right? Like a livable wage, right? Not is becoming a back burner to the idea of, well, if you just live, you are worthy of eating, sleeping, and shelter, right? Like all these different things are all necessary to occur simultaneously in revolutionary ways that require so much change and so much advocacy that won't occur with kindness.
I vote that Jared apply for senior pastor at MCC.
I don't know about that last part. I think that sometimes you do have to kind of push the issue, but I think kindness goes a long way. I really think it does. But let me go back to the comment about the jobs. I mean, that's what the Green New Deal is all about, and it took me a while to understand that. I mean, just where the New Deal name came from. It's just like the New Deal back in whatever decade that
30s, the 30s and 40s.
To create jobs. I mean, I mean, that's part of the whole premise of the Green New Deal. And I have no knowledge about whether it's a workable solution or not, but I mean, that's the claim, that it would create a whole lot of jobs in areas like solar and wind energy and things like that. So I mean, and I'm not sure I understood your cancer comment.
Well, I am such a socialist that I think, Jared, that if you are born into this world and into this planet as a human being, just based on that, based on the scriptures that I've read and what I think about who God is, I think if you are born into this planet and into this world, that you automatically deserve food, water, shelter over your head, regardless of whether you lift a finger or not to provide that for yourself. And so, you could put whatever label you want to on me because I think that way. And I because I have a good job and I am willing to pay more in my tax dollar or whatever to make sure that the least of these that Jesus talks about in Matthew 25 are all taken care of. I'm willing to pay more and have less. I'm willing. I have a roof over my head. I'm not worried about where my next meal is coming from. And so I'm willing to give more. So what I'm saying is I'm willing to share what I have so that everybody can
Kindness.
have.
Kindness. You're talking about kindness.
But I actually think that the government has to do that because people don't really willingly want to do that. People really, the biggest lie we have ever been told and believed is that there is not enough. There's not enough resources. There's not
Right.
enough food. There's not enough energy.
Right.
There's not enough. And that's all a lie. God has
Yeah.
provided enough for
Yeah.
all 8 billion of us if we will just share. If Elon Musk will just give up 12 billion of his $50 billion fortune, so many others, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I agree with you because I tell my husband all the time, I was like, the biggest lie is the creation of the US dollar, the big or any and not just the US dollar, but any type of currency. The biggest lie is taxes because I feel like in my honest opinion, I feel just like you, like almost like a socialist belief that everybody should have a house to live in, everybody should have food, everybody should have healthcare. Because I'm like, we have all this inequality in income, in everything, and I'm like, it's more like because I'm Aztec and Native American as well, but we believe in that God basically, the sun god, the mother earth, that they provide everything that we need, and there's no reason that we should be paying for it, basically.
Right.
Which
Right.
is true, but then somebody invented capitalism and decided they wanted to make money off of it.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm talking about.
Money is a construct. You're right. And
Yeah.
so I think this does bring it all around to how economic justice and ecologic justice is tied together. So
Carol, is it possible that human beings can think of a different system beside this monetary reward? Like, okay, you do this 40 hours a week and I give you that. Isn't, can we ever reach the point where there's a better way where everyone is just doing what they're naturally inclined to do or what spirit has given their heart to do? Like some people are artists, some people are accountants, some people are mathematicians, and some people want to travel in space or whatever. We pursue, what spirit has given to us, and there's really just no need for this whole monetary. We're all given the roof over our head, the food that we need, the shelter that we need, and then we just do what we love. And there's no, oh, she makes 12 million and I make 70K. There's none of that anymore.
right. Jared,
Talk about
I think
revolutionary.
yeah, Jared's vision, I think, speaks to that, what he was talking about earlier. But also, how about this? I mean, one of the places that we need to start, I think, is in politics. I mean, this is ridiculous how money buys candidates, I mean, and lobbyists and all of these issues are just determined by money. And I mean, I it's just that just seems crazy to me. It seems like if we just created some kind of system where the people could really speak, where candidates each got the same amount of primetime visibility, without anybody contributing any money to their campaigns or anything. And then I think we start getting into more of a system where money is not the only thing that talks.
But it's also fundamentally in education too, because in education they don't teach you about how to create a budget, how to basically just nothing useful in my opinion. Calculus,
Christopher Columbus.
like how many times?
God.
So basically, they don't teach you how to budget. They don't teach you about basically just anything that's going to be useful in life. But I lost my train of thought.
No, you're on it. You're on it. Yeah.
But basically, especially too about the environment, they don't teach that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
and
it's a lot of work that needs to occur that requires a lot of organizing, a lot of consistent labor, and like it will require like revolution, right? Like we're talking what we're talking about, what we're visioning right now is Eden at the end of Revelations, and that didn't happen without violence, without explosions and all the horrors, right? And all the earthquakes and all the terrors and all the ecological disasters, all of that, right? That leads to a golden place. It takes a lot to get usher in what we're talking about right now. And so when we're talking about ecological justice, the environment's going to survive us. We're not going to survive. What we're talking about is the preservation of humanity.
Yeah, right.
Because I mean, like it can be in completely inhabitable here. A tree's gonna make it.
In terms of the biblical things, I think more about like the kingdom. I don't like to use the word kingdom because I think Jesus didn't talk about hierarchy and realms of power. Jesus fought the status quo and sought to dismantle those the structures of power. And but I think we're all called into trying to work toward the kingdom of Christ, of God. I think that's what the Christ way means, and I think and I think that's a place of peace and love and justice on earth. So that's what I think of more when I think about getting to those places. Is that we're all just called to strive a little bit in our own little corners of the world to try to reach toward that. When it comes to ecologic justice, I was in a book club one time with a book. Oh, I'm struggling to remember the name of it. But it was a woman who was teaching in Lubbock. She was a Canadian, but she was teaching at the college in Lubbock where I grew up. And it was really interesting book, and it talked a lot about kind of the things that we can do and how what impacts the most. And what it kind of came down to was a little bit disheartening. But population was like the biggest thing. So I guess those of us who haven't had biological children are doing our part to to contribute. But cars, I think, was a much bigger thing. But I mean, things like recycling and stuff, we're trying to find better ways to do it so that it does actually make an impact in things. But there are limits to how much that's gonna make a difference. But it doesn't hurt to kind of do our part to use more to think about the impact of the things that we do in our life, using reusable things instead of just so much trash and waste and that kind of thing. But limiting the use of cars as much as we can is a big one. And I find that hard since I live kind of, I mean, I don't get out any more than I need to. I remember anyway, but it's hard. I haven't found a green accessible ramp van. They don't that ramp vans are gas guzzlers. That's just, so you have competing needs.
But
Well,
they don't have to be.
what does Kim think about Kim? If I'm not mistaken, you're in Pearland, right? Pearland is close to all of the hurricanes that are going to come on shore in southeast Texas. So how do you feel about all of this?
Right now, I'm just learning a lot. I'm just listening to you guys. I don't know. I guess I just haven't thought about it a lot lately. So I don't know if I really have much to say at this point.
Have you ever had to evacuate because of the Ike or Harvey or?
Not those hurricanes, because I've only been in Texas for 14 years, but when I was in
Oh.
South Carolina when Hugo hit in '89, I was on a ship and we had to pull out to sea. And then the
Wow.
families were left behind to evacuate on their own, but
Wow.
because the ships cannot stay in port during a storm like that.
Right.
I hadn't thought about that.
Mhm.
Well, I
It-
think actually that God is speaking to us. I believe when we think about COVID, for instance, he shut down the world. God shut down the world. It wasn't just the United States. It wasn't just, Germany or France or whatever. He shut down the world. And there were lessons that we should have learned. I think that brought an awareness to us in America about, masks and viruses and think about the number of people who died and those who wanted to get the shot and those who refused to get the shot and what people were saying about it. And then look at the storms and the hurricanes and the strength of them and the tornadoes. But we're at a point now in Texas, at least, where we've got politicians saying don't use the words climate change. They don't want anybody to use the word climate change. They don't want to talk about it. Um, we've got a politician who's saying, like I said before, wants to get rid of the Environmental Protection Agency. Who's going to make sure that our environment, that gases aren't leaking and things aren't going awry? What about our food? I think that's the other thing that the younger generation is doing is they're talking about plants and eating healthier. I think and thinking about what's in this food that I'm eating. How did they grow it? What chemicals did they use?
When you started
So
talking about COVID, I thought you were going to bring up how so many of the, when all those visions of how so many of the countries just a lot of that was reversed temporarily
yes,
during the
yeah.
shutdown.
Yeah,
How
that is true. I meant to go there, but it's just in my mind. There's so much about our environment, and I am the older generation, but we recycle plastic and newspapers and yeah, and I never did that before. I never thought about it, but I think that in the ways that God has spoken to us about and made us sit still and think about what we do and what we don't do and how we do it and what we eat and what we drink and being clean and and you're right, COVID did reverse a lot of the pollution and you could actually have breathe fresh air. So yeah, I think that God is speaking to us, and I think more people are listening. But I also think Jared is right that some more people are going to have to die, and that the environment will outlast us. And I'm sad for that we didn't get to the point we are now sooner, before God allowed COVID, to shut down the world. But that was a huge thing for me.
So what about what can we do as panelists on God Talk? What can we as individual panelists on God Talk tonight? What I've thought about is, okay, so Austin is like, New Mexico is pretty dry, and Central Texas has been very dry. Lake Travis, one of the main water supplies for Austin, is just like 45% full. And so water I think is going to be a big crisis, especially for southwestern United States, into the next 5 to 10 years. Not sure about other areas, but water, and I'm not sure if it's going to go as far as Houston or not, but here in Central Texas. And so I'm like, well, what can I do? I'm just like this one little person living in Austin. And so it was, sometimes what I do is, even in the midst of the hot summer, I'll wear the same clothes for 2 or 3 days. And so me and my husband, we run the washing machine less, and we use less water to wash those clothes. And I know I had a plastic bottle tonight, but a lot of times I try to use, a metal cup, a metal washable cup, instead of putting another plastic thing into the trash, or even
And you
even
can
if it goes
recycle
into the
it.
recycle, even if it goes
Yeah.
into recycle. So it's so what kind, and so I think it's when we become conscious of, Mother Earth, we want to help. Mother Earth, we are praying for your insight, and and then Mother Earth will give us little tips in our consciousness along the way. Well, you try doing this. Try um, try eating in foods that take less water to grow, and all of this.
And less
It's having the consciousness and being
Being local.
aware, and
Yeah.
I think it does start with awareness. And
Yeah.
and as always, we lead by example.
Right.
We lead by example.
Absolutely. Right. The decolon, to answer that question, right? You did a great job. Those little things are useful, right? They are dwarfed by the carbon emissions of these evil corporations, but modeling the behavior for your community is great, and that is what exactly we can do, right? What, as panelists here, speaking, and modeling that dialogue, and while also working in our own personal lives to do the decolonial, deconstructive work to make sure to undermine these corrupt narratives, right? You and then speak that out into the world and to affect change, right? In hopes that maybe one or two, maybe somebody that you've interacted with, right? Whether it is online or offline, right, can have their view shifted even an inch, even a millimeter, is a way that we can help. Yes, Chunky Bag.
Yes, I think so. And let's remember too that God Talk, we're talking about shifting the narrative about toxic religion, and religion
Yes.
has played a part in it's just like what's on this earth doesn't matter, and and so just shifting the narrative about that this is important.
And one thing that scares me is that, how God talks about, I think in Genesis, when he created the earth, he said that he put all plants that
Right.
produce
Right.
seed. That's one thing that scares me now with all this bioengineered food, because
Right.
bioengineering food does not
Right.
create seeds.
Right.
They
Right.
create without seeds. So they
Right.
create a lab to where only those scientists are able to create the seeds that grows this food.
Right.
I don't know how many of y'all have researched how much land Bill Gates has been purchasing. So that scares me, because he's been purchasing a lot more land than anybody else. And I think he hasn't said it, but I think he is going to be producing a bioengineered food, like vegetables and all that. in that land. One thing that, for example, I keep a lot with I keep up a lot with Mexican politics. I was born in Mexico, so I just keep up with it. One of the things that the U.S. was trying to get Mexico to do is to plant bioengineered corn, yellow corn. And Mexico's president was like, "Well, no, why would we do that? We have like 50 variants of corn, and it's natural corn that we plant by seed. So why would we give up that if it's part of our culture to plant, sweet corn, but it's bioengineered corn?" And I'm so glad that they refused that, because I'm like, oh, please tell me that. but yeah, it's that is one thing that scares me, because in Genesis, they do talk about how God put all the plants here that would produce seed, and now we're going with food, and that's one thing that definitely scares me.
Sustainability is
Yes.
critical.
And now, even when we go to the store, we always look at the labels, and if it says bioengineer, me and my husband,
Bye, girl.
don't buy it.
Toodles.
Yeah.
Are you all able to grow any of your own food? Do you have your own anything, peppers, or
I tell you, when we first moved in this house, all the soil around it is clay. And
yeah.
What I've done, I've ordered three trucks full of wood chips. So if you go to wood chip drop, that's the website, chipdrop.com, you can order wood chips, and I order three truckloads for free. You can donate, and that's how you get them fast.
Really?
You can donate like $20, $40. I've donated $40 every single time, and they bring you a truck load of wood chips for free. And what I've done, I spread it all through the edges of our property, and that, and maybe another year or two, is going to create rich soil where I can plant easily, and my garden will grow a lot faster, because you can't tell, but I am like a garden junkie. I love plants. I love to plant, and my goal is to have a beautiful garden. In the next 3 to 4 years.
I sure miss that, Leo, from when Paul and I lived in Oak Forest. We had cucumbers, we had eggplant, we had jalapenos, we had cherry tomatoes, and now here in Austin, our backyard is like this big.
Oh.
And so we have, we're thinking about how can we do a climbing. We've got 2 stories, so how can we do a climbing garden? We're thinking about how we can work that in. But yeah, I love. There's nothing more rewarding than going out and picking the food that you raised with your own hands of love, and then serving it to your husband for dinner. It's delicious.
I hope to do that someday. I'm trying to figure out. I've got enough land, but I can't plant anything too directly because of the prairie dogs and all of that stuff.
Yes.
So I'm working on raised gardens, and that'll be more accessible as well. But one thing I did this year, I tried just following just some of those videos, just about like taking like kitchen scraps, like the ends of the green onions and the potatoes, the eyes from the potatoes and stuff like that, and just trying to grow those. And the green onions are really easy. They do great, man. I've got some that are just doing awesome. But the potatoes, man, they got this big old green bushy top on them and everything, and I grew them like from the spring all the way through the summer, and I finally harvested them, and there was just like, it wouldn't even fill up my hand. They were just these little bitty tiny potatoes.
Well, you got your mountain.
Yeah, you see my mountain back there?
I see your mountain.
Yeah.
Mountain.
But
That's fantastic.
Marco's reminding me that we've gone over a little bit, and so
Thank you, Marco.
he's not going to be here next week. He's going to go see his godmother up in Denver. So
Oh,
We'll miss
nice
you.
visit.
Travel mercies, Marco.
so
Yep.
Thank you.
but
Thank you,
I will
everybody.
be on, and that'll be our last discussion before the election. So so that'll be politics, I think, will be our discussion in general. We may get a little more specific.
We still voted, but we're planning to. I know Kreger voted. I saw your picture on Facebook.
Yeah, guys, I got there at 7. Well, I took the whole day off of work. I
Oh,
was there at 7 a.m. I only had to wait for 8 minutes. I
Wow.
loved it. And it only took me like 10. It's a long ballot, so you really
Yeah.
have to, unless you've studied it beforehand, you have to read and make sure, what you're voting for. But it was just really a very, very smooth process, and I'm grateful for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll
Awesome.
be voting Monday.
okay.
I
It's
already voted,
My
so
husband,
I did my
Yay,
part.
Kim.
Yay, Kim. All right.
first time vote.
Okay, Kreger, will you close us out in prayer?
Absolutely. Holy God, we're grateful for this session of God Talk. And wow, we just hope that you could hear our passion about the subject of the environment. Because what happens if Mother Earth is no longer able to support us, then we cease to exist. So, of course, we're passionate about it. And so we just ask you to give us the little things that we can do each and every day to move forward in the effort to preserve this beautiful planet that you have given human beings as a gift, and help us to encourage others and not shame others. And oh, you could be doing this, that. No, God, just help us to be loving and gracious in all things regarding to the planet. And just what a beautiful conversation we've had tonight, with so many opinions and so much insight. I think we've all learned something new this evening, and so we're grateful for this opportunity. As we move through the rest of this week and into next week, we ask for peace. We ask for a smooth voting process. We ask for nonviolence. We ask that everyone can make their voice heard, even if they're on the other side. Everyone needs to make their opinion heard. God, we ask for your presence in all of that. And we just ask that the outcome be based in love. And so we ask all of this in the name of Jesus, our holy Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Man, thank you so much.
So what did you
All
say
right,
our topic's
guys.
gonna be?
And
Politics, I don't know. I think we might get a little more specific than that, but we need to kind of support each other in how we're feeling about some of the fears about the election. So,
Yeah, we might need to have a real, depending on the outcome, we might need to have a huge support group, because, it just seems like it's getting tighter and tighter. And
well, the following week will definitely be kind of a debriefing. How are we taking care of ourselves?
I can
That-
feel the tears rolling down my cheeks if the orange one wins. But
That's not going to happen. I just don't believe that's going to happen this time.
thank
I
you,
don't
Lynn.
think-
Praise
I
God,
don't-
Lynn. Come on.
I just don't think God will let that happen again. I just honestly don't believe that. I don't.
Well, as long as
But-
the words that come out of our mouths sound like love, that's all we can control, okay? That's
Yep.
what we have control over. And so God bless all of you.
Good night.
Love you.
Good night, everyone.